fished a new area this week. It's an area I've always wanted to go and check out. I knew it was going to be pretty muddy, but let me go into muddy fishing. Let's go over gear real quick. Had my 6-weight Loomis out. Standard 12 feet a leader, 0X plus 4 feet of 10-pound fluoro. Carp maul kicked butt. Used the semi-seal leech and the carp sliders a little bit. Ended up switching it back to the carp maul and basically just dominated with the carp maul. Anytime I'm in off-colored water, that's what I like the most. So this is about the best visual of the trip. I could see this fish moving pretty good through this little area on the far side of these reeds. I snuck up in on him, made a little drag and drop right here. You're going to see in the rest of this footage that most of it is not nearly this clear, but that's a standard drag and drop. Got it just in front of him. As clear as that was there, you got a little bit of forgiveness on where the fly comes in. They're going to be able to see it further away. He moved forward, ate it, set the hook, and first carp. Now, not a lot of big carp here. Most of them were 5 to 7 pounders. I think I got one that probably pushed 10, but like I said, it's an area I've never fished before. I'm sure there's big carp in here. I didn't explore a whole lot of it, but it's a start. So this whole area is very shallow and swampy. Because it's so shallow and there's very little water moving through, it does get really muddy. There's catfish, there's carp, there's all kinds of things in here that contribute. But you can see right there, barely see the fish. Really, I was looking for nervous water, and then you could kind of see shadows just a little bit of these fish. Present the fly to them, and then I know what's funny here is the one that I actually targeted is not the one that you can see in the video right here. You look at that, there you coming in there at the end, right? Drag and drop over the top of him. Now I could see him from the boat, the nervous water, and a little flash of the tail with the head because the head was down. And so whenever we're fishing muddy water, that's really what we're keying in on is those subtle little things. The tail pops up every once in a while. Carp generally will have their head tilted down. And so there is a lot higher chance of that tail poking up through. And so every once in a while you'll see that. And so, move slowly. Stealth is important. Try to get in an area where you might have seen a tail, and then you wait for transitions. And that's hard. So what a transition is carp will usually be fairly stable with the head down, and you might see the tail just a little bit. And then you'll see more of the body or more of the shadow, and the tail kind of goes away. And what's happening there is that the carp is actually lifting its head to start moving and hunting again, right? And that is the time when they're the easiest to get in water like this to get to eat, because this is already so dirty and so unclear that when they're actively tailing, when you drop a fly down in front of them, it's really difficult to get them to come off of that and eat your fly. If you get it in there 2 or 3 inches away from the eyeball on either side of the face, you got a pretty good chance of getting them to notice it and come off whatever they're digging for. But it's much easier to wait for those moments where they stop digging, they lift and move on to the next spot. It's just a lot easier to get them. And these guys were doing quite a bit of that, which helped. They dig for a little bit, they'd move slowly like that guy is right there, dig for a little bit. So each time they stop digging, that would be the time when I would present the fly. So another drag and drop here. You'll see this one come in really close, right by its face there, right? It came over right side of its head to the left side and then dropped right down next to that eyeball. And then he turned over and he ate it. I've said this before, your accuracy on the drop in dirty water is super critical. It's got to be so close in order to trigger a response. But yeah, if you can get in there tight, they're going to come off what they're eating. Or in that case, like I said, he was on a transition, which made it a lot easier. Usually on a transition, they're going to immediately turn to eat it there. So this guy right here just ate a little piece of moss right there, came up and tasted what was there. Saw that a little bit. I thought about changing to a dry, but they just weren't eating enough on top. So I stuck with the very lightweight carp maul here. And virtually anytime I got it right without spooking them like that, right just above his head, dropped it in just to his right side, he immediately came over and ate it there. And then we're on for a good fight. So yeah, muddy water can be very difficult, but you approach it this way. You look for those shadows. You look for little bits of the tail. You move slowly. You slow way down when you're in muddy water. A lot of times you're not going to catch as many fish. I'm not going to lie, I crushed it on this trip. I don't know how many. I probably ended up landing. I mean, I ran out of batteries on my drone, probably 20 to 25 fish. It was awesome, but they were hard to see. But as long as I could get that fly in tied on them, and there was virtually no wind. I mean, there was a tiny bit, but there was almost no wind, which made presentation so much easier, getting it where it needed to be. The muddy water also made it so I could be a little bit closer to them than maybe normal, without spooking them. So it just created an environment that while is quite difficult, as far as getting it real close, there's also a lot of ways that it makes it easier, especially, like I said, because there was very little wind. Had some shadows coming, cloud cover, which made some of it a little bit more difficult as it would come and go, spotting the fish. But again, if you're looking for that nervous water, looking for those tails, even in cloudy conditions, it's not too difficult to find the fish. And then a lot of times you got to sit and watch them for a little while and see, are they moving a direction? And what direction are they moving, right? And again, that tail gives you a good indication. Now, sometimes all you can see is the tail, and it's hard to tell exactly when you see it only once which way the head is likely. So you might have to sit and watch them for a minute, watch their activity. But that's a good practice regardless. The more you observe these fish, the more you can kind of understand how they move, how they feed. Sometimes they'll go in like patterns as they go through an area. So if they're swimming away from you, wait for them to turn and come back towards you, or at least change direction to give you a 90-degree shot. So I know people get frustrated with muddy water, and I have a lot of cool footage of crystal clear water. And crystal clear water is my favorite fish for sure. But carp live in this kind of water a lot, and if you want more opportunities, this is the kind of stuff that you do have to take on. And very clearly, it's very doable. Now, so let's talk about how I found this location. I spend a lot of time on Google Earth scouting. Now that actually, I did that for years in hunting. I didn't start doing this in fishing until maybe about, 7 or 8 years ago, where I would look at maps and stuff like that. Now Google Earth is just so powerful that you can find these areas. And what I look for on Google Earth when I'm trying to scout these areas is areas that look like they're going to be shallow, right? So carp are shallow water feeders regardless. If you go places, various reservoirs and stuff, if you're getting into like the 10, 15 feet deep, 10 feet's not too bad, but you get like 15, 20 feet, you're usually not going to run into a lot of carp at that depth. They like to be in shallow water. Now, they like to be close to deeper areas where they can dive, especially the bigger carp will like to be in deeper areas where they can dive and escape threats. But they're going to feed primarily in the shallower water, which is great for us fly fishermen because that's where we want to target them. Now, the traditional European bait fishermen for carp, they can target them pretty well in 5-6 feet of water. That's pretty hard for us. We really want knee deep or less. So when I'm looking at it, you can't always tell. But usually when you look at a reservoir, and this is a reservoir, you look towards the end that the river's coming in, right? The far end from the dam is usually going to be the area that I concentrate more on. And then any canyons or spurs that come off the main lake, because those are the areas that tend to have the flatter areas, right? Furthest away from the dam, they're going to be shallower. And I just try to look at those areas and kind of put a plan together of what I think, does that look like an area that carp might be. Now, one thing I love to see is when I can see areas that look like they're sandy. Sandy areas are awesome for carp because they settle out quicker, right? This area right here, this is all silt. There's a lot of clay in here. Once the carp kick this stuff up, or the catfish kick this debris up, or people, there's a lot of guys that go through this area in their swamp boats, and they churn the water up really bad when they go through. It takes it a long time for that water to settle back out. So that's what I look for, though. I'm looking for those areas. And again, sand is awesome. Light colors are awesome. You know, if you can find a sandy area that looks lighter, whiter even, you know, then you're basically in heaven. And then you go explore them. You know, you go out and you look for them. I have found some incredible places doing that and caught some amazing fish. Yeah, and you do a lot of Google Earth scouting before you get out there. So anyway, I hope that helps. Muddy water, guys, you can absolutely catch it and catch a lot of fish in these areas. There is a ton of carp in this spot, and there's a lot of areas like this. They don't get fished very heavy. There's a lot of bow fishermen that come out and fish this, but you know, even then, they get so few. They tend not to be very stealthy, which is fine with me. I don't want them to get any, but yeah. Anyway, you can do it. Hope you guys like this one. Tons of fish. Not the greatest footage, just because it is muddy, but I wanted to kind of showcase an area that is muddy, and an area, like I said, I've never fished this area before, and I was able to get out there and just absolutely crush it. So don't be afraid to go out and explore new areas. Yeah, good luck, guys, and we'll check in with you soon. There's a little bit more cool footage here, all very muddy. So take care.